So, it finally happened. The FBI just raided the home of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. Yes, that John Bolton, the mustache that walked so Trump's hairpiece could run. And let me tell you folks, when federal agents are showing up at your front door at 7 a.m., you know the deep state is not just a Fox News bedtime story anymore. It's real. It's wearing body armor, and it's in your living room.
We're back with the Fox News Alert. We're just learning the FBI agents have raided the Maryland home of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. It happened at 7 a.m. this morning.
Shortly after the raid began, FBI Director Kash Patel posting on X, quote, "No one is above the law. FBI agents on a mission."
Not much we can say at this point, but information will continue to develop. As you mentioned, about 7 o'clock this morning, FBI agents raided Ambassador Bolton's home. Notable, we're being told by two government sources that they are looking for classified documents as part of a potential leak investigation. We're told that Ambassador Bolton is not in custody. He's not under arrest. But it is notable they are at his Maryland home right now. We don't know how many agents are there. We're waiting to get a picture of the scene coming in right now. But we're told Ambassador Bolton, who was just on TV on another network a couple days ago talking about the Russia-Putin-Trump summit, is now under FBI investigation.
Here's what went down. Federal agents executed a court-approved search warrant at Bolton's house in Bethesda, Maryland, and even checked out his D.C. office. Why? Because there's an ongoing investigation into the possible mishandling of classified information. Bolton may have been keeping government secrets where government secrets are not supposed to be kept. Which is hilarious because remember, this is the same guy who went on cable news for years acting like he was the guardian of America's national security. The guy who would practically get a nosebleed every time someone so much as breathed near a classified folder. And now, apparently his filing system might have been next to the golf balls in the garage. Bolton once slammed Trump for being reckless with national security. Now the FBI is literally hauling boxes out of his house. If irony were uranium, John Bolton would be a walking nuclear reactor. And speaking of Trump, you know he's somewhere right now, fist-pumping with joy that one of his enemies is in the FBI's crosshairs. Trump's probably drafting a Truth Social post like, "See? Bolton worse than me." Even the FBI agrees. Sad mustache. But here's the real issue. National security should not be partisan. No one, whether it's Trump hoarding documents at Mar-a-Lago or Bolton keeping souvenirs from his time in the Situation Room, is above the law.
There was a probe going on when President Trump was in office last time because John Bolton wrote a book and he violated his NDA, the president said, in doing it, and he felt as though there were classified information in that book. The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president. So is this picking up where that left off, David?
It's possible. I don't know with 100% certainty, but it is notable, guys, that John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton's security clearances were stripped earlier this year by President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, took that security clearance away. They had concerns. The administration had concerns about Ambassador Bolton still being able to access some of these documents and have some of those security clearances. It's also notable that John Bolton had a security detail as well. Because of the threats from Iran on his life. That security detail, that government federal paid security detail, was also taken away by President Trump. So Bolton was to have to get some private security. So we're looking outside this home right now in Bethesda, Maryland. We're told that Ambassador Bolton's being cooperative. He's not under arrest, not in custody at this point. But still notable, 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, that the FBI all of a sudden is knocking on the door.
What we're seeing here is accountability. Maybe. Because let's be honest, high-ranking officials have a long history of wriggling out of consequences. But this raid shows that, at least for once, the FBI isn't afraid to go after someone in the Republican old guard, not just Trump's inner circus. And by the way, can we talk about how terrifying it must be to be John Bolton at 7 a.m.? You're half asleep, your mustache still hasn't had its morning coffee, and suddenly the FBI is in your foyer yelling, "Search warrant." Bolton probably tried to filibuster the agents on the spot. Well, technically, the definition of classified material is, and the FBI was just like, "Sir, put down the legal pad and step away from the briefcase." This also fits a bigger pattern. Republicans love to accuse Democrats of being reckless with national security, but time and time again, it's the GOP officials who end up in the headlines for mishandling classified information. Trump, Pence, now Bolton. It's almost like, and hear me out, The Republican Party doesn't actually care about the rule of law. They just care about who gets caught. When it's a Democrat, it's treason. When it's a Republican, it's an unfortunate misunderstanding with my home filing cabinet. At the end of the day, the raid on Bolton's house is just another reminder that the GOP's so-called national security hawks are really just paper tigers. They talk a big game, but when the rubber meets the road, they're no more responsible with classified material than Trump is with a ketchup bottle at the White House dining room wall. So let's keep the same energy across the board. If Trump deserves to be investigated, and he does, then so does Bolton.
We're starting with the breaking news we ended last hour with. A New York appeals court has thrown out a massive civil fraud penalty against President Trump, a total that exceeded $500 million. They're calling that penalty excessive. Joining us now, NBC News legal analyst and NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach. Danny, break down this ruling for us.
Well, it's a lengthy ruling, and all the judges disagreed on their analysis, but they agreed on one final decision, which was that this judgment against Trump was a fine within the Eighth Amendment prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment and excessive fines. And in addition, it was punitive and it was excessive. That's really the conclusion. They concluded that because this was a punitive measure because there weren't any victims who were compensated. It was just a judgment against the company and against Trump. So the court here concluded with a lot of disagreement among them, but did conclude that this was an excessive fine within the meaning of the Constitution's Eighth Amendment.
Well, Donald Trump is celebrating again, because apparently, in his world, being officially declared a fraud but not having to cut a $500 million check counts as a win. A New York appeals court just threw out the $500 million civil fraud penalty against him, and Trump immediately rushed to declare total victory, like he just won the Super Bowl. The appeals court said, yes, Trump did commit fraud, inflating his assets, lying on paper, all the greatest hits. That part stays on his record, but the judges decided the $500 million penalty was excessive and tossed it. So to be clear, the court literally said, Donald Trump is a fraud, but a fraud who's being overcharged. Republicans love screaming about law and order, right? But when Trump gets caught committing fraud, suddenly the rule of law turns into, well, he did do it, but should we really punish him that hard? Imagine if Barack Obama had been found guilty of fraud. Do you think Fox News would be like, oh, it's okay, the penalty was just too big? Please. They'd be building gallows on the White House lawn. This decision doesn't absolve Trump. It just means one court thought the punishment didn't match the crime. But the fraud is still on paper. And here's the kicker. The restrictions on Trump and his family still stand. He and his sons are still barred from running businesses in New York for now, and his company is still under a court monitor. This is what conservatives don't get. Trump's legal record is like his tax returns. Even when he hides the numbers, the story is always the same. Fraud, lies, shady deals. At the end of the day, Trump is still a fraud. And if that's what passes for a huge win in Trump world, then I guess the bar really is as low as his golf scores.